Kyle is my oldest son, and he was born August 12th, 1981. Yeah, Kyle was in college. He was playing football. 9/11 hit, and his cousin Shelley was at the Pentagon that day.
Wow.
And so the Farr family lost their daughter that day. Everything changed. Everything shifted for him. He joined the National Guard first, and then it switched over to the Army, and then he deployed out of Fort Lee. When he came home, he was a very different young man. He managed his trauma with a lot of alcohol and drugs. He had gotten diagnosed with post-traumatic stress and traumatic brain injury. He was confused a lot. He had a lot of nightmares. In a letter he sent back at Christmas time when he was in the VA, just said, couldn't wait to be able to come out here and feast on my enchiladas. And he referenced that 2008 had been a lousy year for both of us, but his hopes were in the future. It was in November of 2008, and I got the phone call that he had tried to take his life. They decided that they were going to put him in a 3-tiered program for depression and, the laundry list at Perry Point VA Hospital in Maryland. They brought him in from wherever he was, and he looked really disheveled. He looked scared. And he told us it was like being in cuckoo's nest there, and he really wanted out of there. Really remember too much about it. I remember it was my last hug. That was the last hug. It was a good one, though. On March 6th, he called me and he said, "Mom, they tell me I'm just taking up a bed and that I can self-medicate. What do you think, Mom?" The next day, my house was on the market, so there were a couple of cars around, so I didn't think it was unusual. I thought maybe they're showing the house. And as soon as I walked in, my sister, my pastor, some other people, and they handed the phone to me, and they said, "Honey, it's Larry. You need to take this call." And he just said, "Leslie, I need you to be strong. We've lost our boy." So that was that. He left the VA, had $90 in his pocket, his duffel bag, whatever, and he found a Baltimore hotel room, and he didn't wake up the next day. Now, was it a suicide or was it just really reckless behavior? We know this, that alcohol and psychotropic drugs don't mix. So when you're told you can self-medicate, but you're still dealing with addiction and other things, if it hasn't been fully resolved, you're not going to have a good outcome. If you read his journal and his text to his sisters and his notes, I think he did expect to wake up. He probably was feeling pretty ashamed. He probably felt a lot of hopelessness. I did look at the paperwork finally, and it was very clear. Call Mom and Dad, had both of our numbers, before you discharge this soldier. Neither Mom or Dad, myself or his dad, got that phone call. So I went to Texas as far south as I could. I lived with my aunt, just trying to figure out what is the next chapter of my life, right? I got back here. I got my job back at the Tides Tavern. I knew there were other family members out there that could possibly have the same fate or outcome, and I wanted to change and create more of an epidemic of hope. I just didn't know how to do it. So I'd started running, and I thought, you know what? Let's do a half marathon, and let's call it Race for a Soldier. We added a couple of more events. I called it the Permission to Start Dreaming Foundation. Kyle was on all these meds for nightmares, right? And how beautiful would it have been for him to have permission to start dreaming. All that money then that we raised, we started funneling into sending men and women from this area back to Boulder Crest in Virginia, and then eventually to Arizona. every man or woman that's gone through this program. I've watched the transformation in real time. I've watched it with my own eyes. This isn't voodoo science. This is real post-traumatic growth that they're developing. Post-traumatic growth is the concept of taking the most traumatic experiences in your life, the most profound darkness in your life, and turning it into your profound strength. When I stopped thinking about myself and my sadness and my pain, and I started doing just in little snippets for others, that's when things started to change for me. You can find your passion and purpose again in spite of your incredible loss, but you have to be willing to do some things. We train our warriors up really good to be badass soldiers, and we should, but we need to do as good of a job as helping them discard those warrior clothes and help them become the men and women that God designed them to be. You know, we need them leading this country. We shouldn't just discard them and think, oh, well, you know, give them their stipend, give them their VA benefits, and let them figure it out. We have an obligation. That's where I became so disappointed with the VA. They are a large government organization, and I think they have dropped the ball over and over again, and I think we need to look outside of the VA for supporting our veterans. When you see a program as great as Warpath, you truly need to get behind it. Pay attention. This isn't just a feel-good. This is data-driven. You know, there are real life stories. There isn't a man or woman I have seen go through this program that isn't better for it. Amazing transformation. The love has to go somewhere, so it's a trusted place to share with you guys, and I appreciate you're making it a safe place for me.